Does LR Pyon make the top 10? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are revisiting our top 10 LR tier lists to see where the brand new LR Pyon fits among the best units in the game. So, as always, right, we look at three things when we assess for our tier list. We look at power, versatility, and consistency, right? How well does the unit perform consistently? What is their job, and how well do they do it, and how often do they do it? Then we look at versatility, right? What all does the unit do, and where all can they do it? Are they usable in multiple types of content? Are they usable on multiple different teams? And then finally, we look at power, raw power, right? Does this unit have something within their kit that gives them that extra oomph in attack or defense that can sort of forgive any other flaws that they may have? If the unit checks these boxes, they're going to rate higher on the list. So the question is, how does that apply to LR Pyon? Well, first off, right, you guys know that the way we do tier lists over here, we like to start from where we left off on our previous tier list, so that way we can see how the tier lists are evolving as we add new units throughout the year. I feel like that this method allows us to kind of, keep in mind those units who were once good early on in the year and have shifted, right? Because a lot of people, once they see a unit move off that number 10 slot, all of a sudden they forget about them and then they treat them like the unit is no good. And I don't like that. I feel that, no matter where a unit falls, they can provide some use. So this kind of helps remind us of that fact. Second, we've also created two tier lists, as you guys remember from the last time we did this. We have both a Battle Hardened Formidable Foes tier list, which is the one you're looking at here, and a more longer Red Zone style content tier list, right, which is the one you have here. So we're going to start with the Red Zone tier list. In terms of power, versatility, and consistency, where does Pyon fall? So let's start with consistency. Pykon's main job is an attacker, specifically for the other World Warriors and tournament participants team non-reps of Universe 7, although you could run him probably around another variation of that. You just wouldn't have too many leads for them. But his job is to be that attacker for that team, at least an attacker within the new meta, getting most of his power from his Rainbow Key Seers once transformed on turn 4, which he can do all right pre-turn 4, but turn 4 and beyond is really where you're going to see him come in. He is throwing out, from 55% on, right? He's still throwing out 50 to 60 million supers each turn. Now, granted, he doesn't have any additional supers built in, but that's still pretty good for an attack stat. And he pretty much can do that relatively easily. 3 to 4 Rainbow Key Seers will get him around that, even higher the more dupes you have him, right? I have mine at 69%, and he is consistently throwing 60 to 70 mil out. So he is pretty consistent. His big thing, having both dodge and around 3 mil defense post double super, means that he's going to be a very, very consistent slot 2 or slot 3 unit. So for consistency, I would definitely say he checks that box. His function is exactly what it is and not much better. He does it no matter where he is at. Now, that brings us to our next point here. And that is versatility, right? Can he do what he's doing in multiple different situations? So, taking a look at his passive, we can see he really has no restrictions when in his base form, right? The only one is this Other World Warriors or tournament participants, and that's only to give the 40% support. If you don't need that, or you're running the AGL Pyon, then it's completely irrelevant. There's almost no condition to what he's doing. One once he gets serious past turn 4, he has no condition other than grabbing the key spheres. That's it, right? Just getting 4 to 5, 3 to 4 rainbow key spheres, usually going to get him exactly where he needs to be. And he can do this no matter what team he's on. And that's kind of where he falls short on versatility. He doesn't have too many places he can be run, right? He has his own lead for Otherworld Warriors here, and Saviors, but otherwise, there aren't too many of the other 220% leads that he can be on. The current Dokkan Fest Cell, who leads tournament participants, only gives him 170. He's not, this PIKKON is not on accelerated battle, which means that he is not going to be getting the full 220. He's on no other 220% lead. We have not gotten a new Worthy Rivals lead. Glorio leads him for Battle of Wits, and honestly, aside from this guy's own lead, that is probably his best lead, right? Being on Glorio. And granted, this is 170% because Glorio's secondary is Dragon Ball Seekers, but the additional 50% support plus the other supports that are going to be on the team with him more than makes up for that, which he doesn't really have access to on the tournament participants, although he does have access to the domain, which can do well. But so that's where I find he falls short on versatility. He's just very limited where he can be run. But what he's doing in these few areas where he can be run cannot be understated. And that does drive us into the final point here for raw power. Now, you know, PIKKON being one of the first major units, non-Dokkan Fest units past the 10th anniversary, right? He's our first real feel of, you know, true post-anniversary power creep. Diamond, Vegeta, and Cell really, you know, didn't really make us feel that. They kind of felt like units from last year, which isn't a bad thing, but they really didn't feel like the power creep was here. PIKKON does that, right? PIKKON, again, throwing those 60 to 70 million supers out, right, from 55% onwards. And, you know, I've gotten him up to 130 mil on a super, you know, just on a basic rotation with him and PIKKON, and then popping Gogeta's active. Like, it's not like that was something that was super hard to set up, right? Like, he's got raw power in space. Now, granted, he doesn't have any additional super attacks, but that one attack, right, that's taken out a full bar and a half or so of, like, Red Zone Jiren, for example, so who has 500 mil HP. That's taken out a full bar of Goku, who's got 1.5 billion. So, like, the more damage you can do to him, obviously, the better, right? Very few units are doing beyond 200 million per attack, right? So, you know, he takes a while to get down, but that's why I feel like he's got it really in raw power. And his defense isn't that bad. So with that, given those three categories, I kind of feel like he does fit right into the top 10. In fact, I would probably place him... I would probably move down these guys and place him right at number 10 for the red zones, right? AGL UI, seeing less and less use unless you are running Tech UI, and that is mainly because of the both two major fights against Jiren and Goku all cancel dodge, and so I'm kind of more on the side of removing Goku from the top 10. He still gets an honorable mention, right? And same with Blue Evolution, Vegeta. They still get them honorable mention, but I do think that you know, they're seeing less and less use due to that fact. Now, I did want to take a minute and readjust a little bit of this tier list based on some previous usage, right? So, I had previously had Beast Gohan and Broly at number 5, with Int Broly following right behind. Now, this was before the arrival of Blue Goku when we last did this tier list, and so I'm kind of on the side of moving a few units up beyond them based on now his existence. Not that it changes too much here, but it just kind of it's kind of more to solidify a point about where things are. So I wanted to move these guys down. Having used these two more and more, I was feeling like these guys are better, but the more and more I use them, right, the gods not having a counter, right, they have a lot of extra attack that we didn't account for when we did that. So I kind of feel like they're on the same level. But what we do have here, we're going to go ahead and add this right now. We're going to add a row right below here, and we're going to call this gap. And that is because we had previously had Goku and Vegeta together, but I don't think that that's true anymore. Having done more and more testing since the anniversary and setups versus setups, and now factoring Festival of Battles, there is a massive gap between Vegito and Gogeta, who still comes in safely at number 2. Following that, the next shift I wanted to make, and this is, I mean, all the categories still apply that we've mentioned before, power, versatility, they're all still here for all of those reasons. But I do want to move Beast Gohan down a little, having used these more and more. So I would honestly move him. Alright, I would honestly move him down below Broly here, which is going to shift him down just a little bit here. And then Gotenks going to move down here next to right here, number 9. There we go. All right, so all we're doing is just shifting the list down a little. Grade 8 Vegeta, it's still kind of where he's at a little bit. And so I would kind of put them, honestly, if you put either one of these at number 10, I would probably, you know, I wouldn't argue with you. And I honestly, I kind of want to put Vegeta higher, but you know, for me, as I mentioned before, the big thing for him is the links, right? He really disrupts the links on the teams that he's on, because he's got a really strange link set here. Like if we just pull it up here, Worthy Rivals, let's go. Oh, he's not on Worthy Rivals yet, is he? Okay, we'll just click Vegeta. We'll just click a random Vegeta here, and then we'll go Vegeta's family, and then LR. Here we go. Right, so if we just like look at the links here, right, he's got Saiyan Warrior Race, Lineage, over 9,000, Transform, Saiyan Roar, Shattering the Limit, Legendary Power. This means like these are the types of characters he's going to link with. Like, so that was my big beef with him. He's really good, definitely viable top 10. It just, for me, like the versatility of the links is really what set him down below the rest of these. Beast Gohan is only moving down because some of these other fights are just, they're a little too rough for him in the later phases, especially like Topo, Jiren, and AGL Jiren, right? Like, you just don't want him around in that. Whereas the rest of these characters can actually still do very well in those fights, right? Set up appropriately the two Brolys, and they are actually not having any issues in the final phases of the Jiren fight, mostly because, right, he will be post-revive. If you're playing correctly, you'll have at least a turn left of the domain, and then you'll have Super Broly's domain, so which would kind of boost their power back up. So, I mean, it's not, you know, I feel like they have a little bit more use in the red zones than Beast does, but Beast still kind of is a little bit better in terms of power, versatility, and consistency than the ones below him. But this is kind of where I'm feeling everything is at right about now. So that is for red zones, right? Now, the question is, where does PIKKON fit for the battle-hardened formidable foes? Now, I don't feel that I'm going to change this list too much compared to the other one, but I definitely do think PIKKON deserves a slot here. In fact, probably I would move him right up here below or above Gotenks for battle hardened formidable foes. Gotenks and Jiren were just sort of barely cutting it. Jiren was a standby, was just a standby merchant that you would use to kind of spare yourself a turn for battle hardened formidable foes. Whereas PIKKON, due to the things that he's doing, he's basically invincible post super. He's got dodge and guard, which will help him against the AoEs, and we're talking like 70% here and then 80% when in serious mode. So he's got coverage for that. He's got power, which is going to help you push, because most of these guys have no more than 300 million HP. So you get to turn 4 and you are easily wiping out the bosses with him and other members of the team. I do feel like there are still other useful characters above him. Like for one, despite UI not having as much damage output as PIKKON, I do feel that he still deserves the place at number 8 where he's at. Just simply due to how good he is at dodging, and of course the addition of a revive. Although I will say you'll probably be using these two on multiple teams together in the battle hardened formidable foes. As far as the rest of the list, I don't think I'm changing much of anything. Gogeta is still at number 1 due to that Ghost Usher on turn 4. It cannot be understated how powerful of a thing that is. Beast and Broly, this is still really where they tend to shine, as well as Great Ape Vegeta, LR Gohan. The 7 years, actually, I'm comfortable where they're at number 6. This is not their fight. They are much better in the longer content. They can be used, but there are better options. Same with Great Ape Goku. Great Ape Goku, again, is for this fight is still just he's a giant mode merchant. That's what he is. And we talked about this before. And then, coming out of giant mode, because it's still very early on and the bosses hit as hard as they do, his defense can be a bit lacking there. But, having the ability to get rid of the super attack does help there. So, I'm pretty comfortable with the list where it's at currently. Although I did want to add somebody in who is not here, and I will just kind of tie him with another unit here because I think he deserves to be here, and I didn't put him on the last list. Let's see if we can find him here. Where is... These LRs are all mixed up here. All right, we got him. We got the LR and Broly. So I did want to push him down here because he is actually really, really helpful. Broly's team is one of the better teams for battle hardened formidable foes, having basically everything he needs to handle all of the major fights. I would probably put him right here. If I were, I don't like tying units too much unless they're similar enough in function, but I do think he deserves a placement here, right around, I would say, number 8, right next to UI Goku, sort of serving a similar function, bringing in terms of revive for his team, but also providing a domain, the ability to stun the enemy as well, and provides support once revived to allow the other units on the team function as they need to proceed forward and take out the boss. And he does that very well in battle hardened formidable foes, just because most bosses can be stunned or sealed. So I kind of feel like he deserves a placement there right next to UI Goku. So guys, that is it for the video. That is our new updated top 10 LR tier list. We made some adjustments to our red zone long format tier list list with just a couple. Honestly, I mean, I'm comfortable with this. I would even move Grade 8 Vegeta off a little bit here, and pretty comfortable with this list here. And of course, our Battle Hardened Formidable Foes list. PIKKON makes the sort of, you know, bottom 9 to 10 on both lists. He is, you know, he's a beat stick. That's what he is. His function is to get out, do some damage, and, you know, have the little bit of defense that he needs. Everybody above him is, of course, doing a lot more for their teams, so that's why he's kind of where he's at. As far as red zones go, I wouldn't argue with you if you swapped him and Gotenks. I still find Gotenks very, very useful, having the added benefit of being here on the Vegito and the Gogeta's team, and same here. If you wanted to swap them back here, I wouldn't argue with you. Even if you wanted, I actually, for Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, I actually wouldn't argue with you if you moved him above UI and Broly, but that is it for our video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and in the comments down below, let us know, what do you think of our top 10? Again, this is our list based on our criteria, but if you have a different list, if you disagree with any of the options, please let us know in the comments down below. Of course, always be respectful. If you have an issue or you think someone deserves a higher placement, please let us know, but do it in a manner by explaining why, right? That's how we like to do things here. So otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.